on KFOR.
Good morning, Lincoln, Nebraska. Happy Tuesday. It's Elijah Herbal and YZ with you here on the Morning Hookup. I think I did my best Bill Hooks impression. I think that was passable. Yes?
That was your best?
Yeah, it's the best I got in the tank right now. Might not be my best ever, but it's the best for today.
Okay, we'll take it.
So that was dubious. You didn't like that?
No.
I can't the high notes like Bill Hooks can.
Yeah, I got to hold you to a different standard.
Mm-hmm.
Hooks kind of, he gets a little more into it.
It's fair. It's fair. It's not me. I'm trying my best out here. Right. I could be sitting here and saying, I think we heard that song like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
So you didn't bring your best. I didn't bring my best.
No,
we rock and roll no matter what.
I did not bring my best at all, but we promise to be better the rest of the show. Off to a rough start.
Plenty to get into today as a Tuesday edition of the Morning Hookup. We're bringing you Robin Washut here in hour one. Some more Husker basketball body transformations and also a lot of Husker fall camp thoughts as the pads are popping down at Memorial Stadium. Brian Munsell joined the show in hour two. Some more Husker fall camp thoughts. We'll also have Jeff Moats joining the show, leading off hour two as Moatsy, he's going to be out Thursday and Friday of this week, meaning we got a chance to get a Legion baseball update from him. Lincoln East, Carpetland, they're off to the American Legion World Series, so we'll hear about that from Moatsy. Some thoughts on the high school football season as well as practice getting going this week for all the high school football teams here across this great state. So plenty to get into with Moatsy. Again, as I told you, Brian Munson and Robin Washut. We also have some thoughts. Emmett Johnson gets his first depth chart placement with the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll get into that. We'll kind of take a look at some Huskers in the NFL.
Also gets his first cheap shot in practice.
We'll get into that. But where I want to start, Caleb, is with your Red Sox. The umpire and me had...
Oh, wow. This was a whirlwind.
Yeah.
You're going to have to talk me through this on how this even happens.
Okay. If you missed the play,
yeah,
I'll lay it out for you. The Red Sox had runners on first and third, one out. There is a fly ball to center field. Both Red Sox runners think there are two outs, and they just jog around the base paths as if, all right, once he catches this inning is going to be over.
Inning fly ball.
Yeah. However, there was one out. So,
because the scoreboard operator in Toronto put the
wrong number of outs on the board.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because an umpire on the field signaled two outs.
That I missed.
Yes.
I did not see that.
Yes.
Okay. Are we sure he signaled two outs, or did the scoreboard operator misinterpret it? Umpire signs.
That also could be a thing. That's part of what I read, was that an umpire on the field signaled two outs.
Okay. So anyway, long story short, Red Sox.
There's confusion everywhere.
They're just running around the base paths. Toronto tosses the ball back in. They appeal the runner leaving at first base, which is a successful appeal. The runner is out. The Blue Jays clear the infield. The umpires score the run from third after a long delay, a long review. Because what it is, it's a timing play. It's the same as if you have a runner on second base.
Mm-hmm.
You have a single being stretched into a double. Guy gets thrown out at second base, but the run scores first.
Yeah, before he gets
tagged out.
Yep.
Exact same thing. So, because the run who did not tag up was not appealed, it does not go in as a lack of tagging up. It goes in as everything was fine. And once the Blue Jays clear the field, they can appeal that play at third.
Mm-hmm.
But because the appeal happened after the run had already scored, it goes in as a run scored despite the fact the guy had never tagged up. Now, what this could have been, which we talk about it every single year at our umpiring clinics, because stuff gets weird, especially down at the youth baseball level. You see this less at the major league level, but you have to be ready for this. There is what's called a fourth out appeal. If the Toronto Blue Jays had not cleared the field and had successfully appealed at first for the third out of the inning, they could have also appealed at third.
No way.
And gotten a fourth out in the inning that would have superseded the original third out and would have kept that run from scoring.
Uh-huh.
So the two things they could have done, they could have appealed the runner leaving third base, or they could have appealed to first and then also appealed to third before they had cleared the infield. and it would have also not scored the run. But because they never appealed at third base, there was no appeal there, which means you have to judge it as if, well, the team didn't notice it. So he, in essence, tagged up correctly, despite the fact that we know he didn't. So the run scores.
Yeah,
there is your umpiring explanation of the craziness that happened in Toronto last night.
Yeah, this was gigantic confusion. I usually watch pretty much every Red Sox game, but last night was at dinner.
You missed the most exciting moment of the season.
Yes, I was at dinner last night when this happened. So then I get out of dinner and I check my phone, and I'm seeing this all over Twitter. But then I check the score and it's 2-1. I'm like, wait a minute, how does this run count if there was a double play? And then started reading up on it. And man, this is some like little league stuff happening in the majors. It was. I had never heard of anything like this.
The fourth out appeal. There's a whole paragraph in our rulebook for the fourth out appeal because it's its own unique little situation. But in essence, it just means that
there's probably so many.
If they would have appealed at third as well as first, they would have overturned, or not overturned. They would have superseded that third out that happened at first base, and the run would have not scored.
There's probably so many of those little things in baseball that
the average person does not know, including the players and the coaches.
And they barely ever happen, but as an umpire, you have to be ready for them at all times. Yeah, this would only happen to the Red Sox, by the way. Like, only would happen to them.
So there's your explanation, though.
Yeah.
And if you missed this play, go check it out. It was, like a 10-15 minute review on the field, because they had to first determine, all right, did that run score from third before the out occurred at first? They had to determine whether a fourth out appeal happened. I thought the review took longer than it should have, but
then
regardless, by rulebook, they get it right.
The umpire then had to address all of the fans of Toronto. Can you imagine being that umpire? Because right before he did it, he takes a breath and he just goes, okay. He knew he was about to just get yelled at so bad.
He knew, okay, no one's going to understand this one.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to make the calls like that.
Yeah.
It happens a lot in high school baseball. But it gets complicated whenever the coaches and the players also, like, it's one thing whenever the fans at like the high school level or the youth level yell at you, but everyone in the field knows you're right.
Mm-hmm.
It's another thing whenever all the players and the coaches also don't understand the role and they're going ballistic and the fans are going ballistic and you're like, I know I'm right, but this sucks.
From your perspective, like did the umpires mess up in any way? It's like, this isn't really their fault.
Yeah. No, there was no mess up there.
Yeah. They just kind of had to explain a very confusing thing, and it kind of makes it seem like they were favoring the Red Sox, but like,
no, this is clear. This is clear in the rule book.
Yeah, this wasn't like they were catering towards the Red Sox in any way. Like, this is just an unfortunate thing that happened.
I do believe, I don't think I still have my umpiring test from this year was in the studio for a long time. I think it's since been thrown away.
Yeah.
We had a situation just like this that was on the umpiring test this year. So it's something that we as umpires are prepared for. So I enjoyed seeing it last night.
Last thing I'll say, it's just funny if you watch the video and they show a perspective from like home plate, you can see the scoreboard in the background. The ball is in the air and it says 2 outs, and then right before the center fielder catches it, it flips to 1 out. So the scoreboard operator, I think, was trying to like fix his mistake, and then it was already too late.
This is another thing I'll remind to all the youth and high school baseball players out there. If you're listening, I don't know why you are, but if you are, never trust the scoreboard.
Yeah.
The amount of times, major league's a little different, but the amount of times at like a youth level or high school level, the count's wrong. The score is wrong.
Yeah.
The inning is wrong. The number of outs is wrong. Ask an umpire.
Yeah.
Or your first or third base coach. Ask somebody. I mean, the fielders are usually pretty good about everyone being in communication, how many outs there are, but a lot of times I'll see runners trust the scoreboard and be wrong.
Yeah.
So there is a word to the wise. We did mention, though, I want to get into this as well before we get to Robin Washit. Emmett Johnson.
Yeah.
The first official depth chart was released this morning by the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Charts, huh? Depth chart, Kansas City Chiefs. The running back position has Kenneth Walker first, as we all expected. Amari DiMercado in second on the depth chart. Not entirely unexpected, but Emmett Johnson does come in third on the depth chart, kind of where you'd expect him to be. All the Chiefs rookies found themselves in either second or third on the depth chart. Even Cyrus Allen, who I think is probably going to start based on what I'm seeing out, he's second on the depth chart. Peter Woods, the guy who's going to play a lot, he's second on the depth chart. Mansour Delane, their top draft pick, second on the depth chart. So Emmett Johnson, I think, finds himself in a fine spot at this point in fall camp, third on the depth chart, and it clearly shows that he was not dropped down the depth chart after he got smoked by Xavier Wampa at practice yesterday.
Yeah. And the thing about the Chiefs, too, in an Andy Reid offense, you being the third running back on the depth chart, you're still going to get playing time. They like to do a whole bunch of different formations, bring in a whole bunch of different guys. I still think they see a lot in Emmett Johnson. I think he kind of fits that offense perfectly. I would predict that he's still going to get a good amount of touches in this offense. But yeah, that video of him at training camp, that's basically what it's camp, and you're not going full contact. You might be in pads and everything, but that's like something they teach you in middle school, high school. Hey, we're not tackling to the ground right now. Emmett Johnson very obviously lets up and isn't trying to make some guy miss or run through somebody and then boom, just gets flatlined to the ground. Come on, dude. I get I don't think there's any Iowa-Nebraska rivalry or anything there. That's just a player being dumb. You don't do that in training camp.
Yeah, 100% right. And I'll give credit to Emmett Johnson. Didn't fumble the football.
Mm-hmm.
Got smoked. Hey, that's part of the job of being a football player. Sometimes you're out there and you're going to get hit hard.
Mm-hmm.
As a running back or as a wide receiver, you don't fumble the football. I'll also say these things happen.
Yeah.
In camp, like you don't want it to happen. You don't know what's going through Wampa's head. Hey, sometimes there's a miscommunication about about how hard you're going.
Yeah.
Whether you are going to the ground or not. Sometimes there's just simply put, you're rallying as hard as you can to the football. A guy kind of cuts like you're not expecting him to, and it ends up being more contact than you think it's going to be. These things happen.
Yeah.
If you are sitting at home as a Chiefs fan or a Husker fan and you're thinking, oh, man, this is bad for Emmett Johnson. No, it's not.
No.
If you're sitting at home and you're thinking, man, Wampa, what a dirty player. I doubt he meant it. He probably still got chewed by the coaches because, as you mentioned, it did not look like a period where they were expecting full contact tackle to the ground. These things do happen, though.
Yeah.
This is football. It's going to happen at the high school level, the college level, the NFL level. Whether it's a miscommunication or whether it's just a guy that was rallying way too hard and ends up making contact that he didn't mean to make, or hey, maybe he's trying to show out in training camp and he lays his shoulder into somebody and he gets chewed by the coach and staff. Emotions run high. It happens. That's football for you. I don't think there's going to be hard feelings within a locker room over something like that. And I don't think this is going to be a play that's going to loom large over a training camp of like, oh man, Emmett Johnson, he can't take contact. Or I mean, Wampa, dirty player. Like it's just, these things happen.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of just the thing is people on social media are trying to make it out like that. Oh, former Iowa Xavier Wampa flatlines Emmett Johnson. And they're trying to make it something that it's not. And they're trying to make it, Iowa's so much better than Nebraska. And it's like, that's not what it is. It's just two dudes
competing to make a roster.
Yeah.
I think you've nailed it.
It's what a lot of people in media like to do. It's a nothing burger, and they're trying to make it something so much bigger than it actually is.
The Iowa and the Nebraska factor,
yeah,
I guarantee you, has no bearing on this.
No.
Zero bearing whatsoever. These are two guys that are teammates that are both fighting to make a roster. And again, that's kind of why I said I don't think there's going to be any hard feelings about this. This happens. This is football. It's a contact sport.
Yeah.
Things like this happen. So what do you think with Emmett Johnson, what we've seen out of Chiefs training camp, third on the depth chart as it stands right now, but still 3 full preseason games left to kind of make an impact? Should I target him in fantasy football?
Emmett?
Yeah. I know there's going to be a lot of fantasy leagues around here where people are biased and they're looking, okay, whether it's because you're a Chiefs fan and a Husker fan, just a Husker fan, whatever it may be, there's going to be folks that are looking at Emmett Johnson like, I want that guy on my team. Is it a guy you target, or is it a guy that you think you let somebody else make the reach on in fantasy football because there's some bias around here? That's what's been going through my head recently.
Yeah, there probably is going to be that factor to it. And, maybe down the line in the season, you could get him as like a waiver wire pickup. You always have like injuries and stuff, or maybe he cements himself into a bigger role. Taking him in the preseason draft, I think, would be a little bit of a reach.
Okay. I think he'll go. I do think it is a risky pick. Yep. Knowing they have DeMarcado, knowing there might be a rotation behind Kenneth Walker. I mean, you're going to have probably 4 running backs that make the roster for you. What does it look like behind Kenneth Walker? Also, the usage rate for Kenneth Walker remains a mystery. We saw what the Seahawks did last year to keep him healthy, and that's another factor with this is Kenneth Walker has been a guy that's been injury prone through his career. Last year was really the first year where he made it through a full season unscathed. So do the Chiefs, first off, do they load manage him throughout a regular season, kind of like the Seahawks did last year, where Kenneth Walker would get 3 or 4 carries on a drive, and then you get down into the red zone and they're pulling him off, and here comes Zach Charbonnet to score the touchdown? That's a question I have is what do the Chiefs do from a usage point of view with Kenneth Walker? And the other thing to question is can the guy stay healthy through a full season?
Right.
Can he do it in back-to-back years? Because both of those being question marks totally change the outlook for what an Emmett Johnson season could look like.
Like I said, I think he'll play a lot, but just from a fantasy perspective, I don't know how many points he's going to get you on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, the consistency there is, Is he going to be that guy that you keep on your bench that he's a roll of the dice play because you're looking at a matchup and going, I think this could work out? Or Kenneth Walker's nursing an injury, or we shall see. High risk, high reward pick. We'll say that.
Yeah.
High risk, high reward pick. So that'll do it for us. Segment 1 here of the morning hookup, talking some baseball, talking some Emmett Johnson. We got to talk some Husker football as plenty coming out of Husker fall camp. We'll step aside, and in 3 minutes when we return, we'll sit down with Robin Wash at HuskerOnline.com to talk some Husker fall camp.
Is this a bot account?
Probably, I don't know.
We can do a little bit of that.
Bang!
I don't even know what that means. Where's the regulars today? No Flood X10, no Arlo. Where we at, guys? They're probably listening in the background.
You just have to call him out. Corn Raider. Oh, it's Jeff Snitley in.
There he is.
That's one.
Okay, I knew Flood X10 was here. Just listening in the background.
Welcome back into the morning hookup, rolling through a Tuesday with you, efforting Robin Wash at HuskerOnline.com. It's Elijah Herbal and YZ with you here, we talk some Chiefs training camp, talk some baseball, going to talk some Husker fall camp thoughts as well as we Made it through the weekend. The pads are popping down at Husker Fall Camp. It has been a quiet-ish fall camp, but we still have plenty to get into out of Husker Fall Camp, plenty of position battles to get into, some thoughts on just what the outlook is, as depending on which guys win position battles, what does that mean for the team? Depending on what a new defensive coordinator looks like, what that means for the team. I think that's the side of the ball to me that has intrigue. I think the casual fan out there might wonder, okay, Calandria, what can he be for this offense? What does the running back room look like? But I have, and I've been on record saying this a couple of times now, a level of confidence in what this offense can be because of what they've done to invest in the offensive line, the amount of talent that you have at the wide receiver position, the options you have in the running back room, and what we have with Calandria. We'll see if Robin gets back to us here. But you have just a wealth of options along the offensive side of the ball. The question is, and we've gotten into this plenty, the defensive side of the ball, do you have dudes or do you have options? You get what I'm saying there? Like, do you have guys that
game wreckers?
Yes. The type of guys that, and you need to have them. I think any defense needs one. The type of guy that you circle as an offensive coordinator going into the week and say, if we can't handle this dude, we're going to have ourselves a long, long day. Look at the best defenses in Husker history. They all have at least one dude that you circle that you say, man, that dude could take over a game at any point in time. The offense had to take care of him first and foremost. Some recent examples, you have Sue. You have Levante David. I think that defense a couple years ago was so good because Ty Robinson was a game wrecker for you. Other offensive coordinators had to look at Ty Robinson and say, if we don't take care of this guy in the interior of the line, we're going to have a long day. And there were games, Ty Robinson's senior year, that he took over.
We kind of had two, Nash and Ty.
Nash was super solid. Ty was the more dynamic playmaker, though.
Absolutely.
Go back and watch the Ohio State game and look how much trouble Ohio State's offensive line had blocking Ty Robinson. And that was a good Ohio State offensive line that year. Ty Robinson was the reason why Ohio State was unable to run the football that day. It was the reason why Nebraska was able to get off the pass or get after the passer with their edges. Will Howard had himself, I don't say a rough day, but it was a day that was not up to his standard for how he was playing that year. And it was because they couldn't establish the run on the inside because Ty Robinson was taking care of business. Ty Robinson was pushing guards and centers up into the quarterback and letting the edge rushers come around, play free. MJ Sherman had a good day that day. I think Princewell had a good day that day. It freed up so much for you. So my question is, and I don't think the standard that we should be talking about for the Husker defense this year is the best defenses in Husker history. But can you have a guy that elevates the defense because the offense has to change what they are to account for him? That's my question. And I think there are some options on that defensive side of the football. I think the question is it in the front seven?
Okay.
I think having a front seven game wrecker is different than having a guy in the back end, especially in the Big Ten where teams like to run the football.
Yeah.
At the NFL level, sure, a Sauce Gardner, a Pat Surtain, a Darrell Revis,
You can take away
Champ Bailey.
take away one side of the field.
Yeah, and with how much NFL teams love to throw the football and just with how solid lines of scrimmage usually are in the NFL.
Yeah.
That can be big for you, but it starts at the college level and at the Big Ten level up in the front seven. There are some options here. I'm not going to sit back and say that there aren't options. I'm not a doomer with the Husker front seven. I think if Winery can put it all together this year, you'd prefer it to be on the inside, but if Winery can put it all together and start looking a little bit more like a Randy Gregory type with his impact off the edge. Randy Gregory was a game record for the Husker defense. It's a name that I failed to account for just now, but go back and watch whenever Miami came to Lincoln in 2014, Randy Gregory's impact for that defense. Now, is Winery ready to be a Randy Gregory? I don't know, but that was the comparison a lot of folks made whenever he stepped foot on campus here at Nebraska. He has got the size and the athleticism that makes you go, ooh, that's a Randy Gregory type. Can he play with the fire, the passion? Can he be the same guy on a play-to-play basis like you saw from Randy Gregory? Randy Gregory affected so much of what offenses wanted to do. So that's one option. Chambliss coming in, being the quarterback of the defense. I'm not going to make the Levante David comparison. That is a high bar, but think about how Levante David affected what offenses could do. he was unblockable at the second level at times.
When it comes to football IQ, I think Chambliss could be up there with that. If you heard him speak at when the media had availability, he's a very, very smart young man.
Yeah.
And I think I'm very comfortable after hearing him talk. I'm comfortable with him being the quarterback of the defense.
Mm-hmm. And I think back the Penn State game was that 2011 in Happy Valley.
Yeah,
where
Levante David won the game.
It was second down and 2.
Yeah,
and Levante David makes 3 straight stops. Penn State trying to go inside run, gets the ball back for Nebraska, wins them the football game. Or hey, Levante David sparking the comeback against Ohio State. Ohio State was playing well. Braxton Miller takes it inside, and Levante David just rips the ball from his arms.
Mm-hmm.
Gets a possession, gets a touchdown for Nebraska, essentially. Changes the complexion of that entire game. So you can have a game record from the second level. Is that Owen Chambliss? Time will tell. How does he translate to the Big Ten level? But I think there's high hopes for what he can be. Are there any names you think of? Jashir Whittington, I think, is an interesting one because he's going to be playing on that interior of the defense. And I think he's got kind of he's not one of those hulking 320-pound defensive linemen that his entire job is just, hey, go eat a double team. That's an important thing within a defense. But I think Whittington's the type of guy that can go get you an interior pass rush because of the athleticism he brings with his size.
Mm-hmm.
Can he be a game wrecker for you? There's some options there, but who can step up and be that? That's going to be a big question for me whenever you evaluate this defense is, all right, can they hold their own or can they begin to excel in a new system? And to be fair, I know there's a lot of doubt with this Husker defense, and I have my doubts with this Husker defense because a lot of the pieces that you're rolling with this year, the same pieces you played with last year in a defense that, well, I'll be honest, wasn't very good. As the season wore on, that defense was killing you. A game like Penn State, a game like Iowa.
Yeah.
Couldn't stop a nosebleed. But with a new coach, with a new scheme, can it instill some confidence in the guys? Can it be a scheme that brings the best out of the guys? Does that allow them to make a jump? I'll bring you back to year 1 with Matt Rule. There were a lot of doubts about that Husker defense, and Tony White came in and installs a new system, builds some confidence in the guys, and that defense was what allowed you to stay in so many football games that year. That defense made a big flip between the kind of half Scott Frost, Mickey Joseph year, and then Matt Rule's year 1. It's a lot to ask, but can Orich come in and with a scheme that, as I said, brings the best out of defensive players, instills confidence in what they're doing, can it just get them to middle of the road in the Big Ten? If you're middle in the road in the Big Ten, I think you're good enough to remain competitive against the big dogs with what I think the offense can be, and it should be good enough to get you wins against the teams that are in your neighborhood that you're expected to be.
I think the scheme-wise, it just like the areas that you were bad in last year, I think that it'll kind of like put a Band-Aid over those. I have higher hopes for this defense than I think most people do just because of the personnel and the types of players that you have and what you're going to try and do with the 4-2-5 and being in the Big Ten. You're going to have teams that try and run in between the tackles on you, and it just makes more sense to have bigger defensive linemen that are physical and plugging those gaps. You just didn't have the right guys for the 3-3-5 last year, and I think that's why everything looked so poor. And like you said, over the course of the season, it just got worse and worse and worse and worse.
Guys lost confidence. They lost confidence in what they were doing, what the scheme was that they were trying to run. Mm-hmm. Whenever you're running the same scheme that you just got killed on last game by a team like USC that was running the football all over you, the only reason you're in that game is because Lincoln Riley was trying to get cute in the red zone.
Yeah.
Whenever you go back and watch the film and you don't change up your game plan, whenever a team that actually runs the football well is playing against you, the confidence isn't going to be there.
Yeah, what are we doing?
Now, the question that I have, and it'll kind of tell the story, and why there is so much doubt, is you're going to need guys that you saw last year that didn't play at their best to make a leap. And there's doubts with what Matt Rule and the development within his program is.
Absolutely.
That's the heart of this issue and why there's so much doubt with this Husker defense, I think, is guys that need to make a jump this year, unquestionably. Cam Linhart. He needs to put together his best season of football. It feels like he burst onto the scene early, had some great games early. That first year, whenever he was in the Tony White defense, felt like Cam Linhart was a guy that you had circled for the future. What does that turn into? Well, he's been quiet ever since that first season. Riley Van Poppel has to make a jump. We thought in his early snaps at Nebraska, and then you redshirt him that second year of Matt Rule at Nebraska, because you thought, well, he can be a Ty Robinson type moving forward. He looked far from that last season. So that's a guy that needs to make a jump. We talked about Winery. I think he has the ability to make a jump. Can he put it all together and actually go and make that jump? I think Petchak has to make a jump. Shavers has to make a jump. There's just guys on this defense that you need to see take developmental strides through the offseason for this defense to be where it needs to be. And that remains a question mark, and that's something we're not going to probably find out until October. Who's on the line?
We got Robin on the line.
Robin Wash at HuskerOnline.com. Robin, thanks for getting back to us. How you doing this morning?
Doing all right. Finally got out the door this morning, so couldn't answer when you called initially, so I apologize for my tardiness.
You are all good, Robin. We've been sitting here talking some Husker defense. The two questions that I've kind of been discussing are who on this defense can be a game plan wrecker, the type of guy that offensive coordinators have to circle going into the week. Because I think every good to great defense has one of those guys that you circle and say, if we don't take care of that guy, we're going to have issues. And the other question is, which guys have we seen in a Husker uniform in years past or last season that need to make a jump? I want to start with the game wrecker question to you. Are there any guys that you have circled as being potential game plan wreckers for this Husker defense?
Still need to see it from pretty much everybody on that defense. I guess when you just talk about potential, I mean, there's one guy that was a 5-star, top recruit in the country, and that's Williams Nwaneri. And if he can ever play up to that potential, then yeah, I mean, his ceiling is probably as high as anybody on that defense. So he's the obvious answer for me. We just haven't seen it yet. He showed some flashes early on last year, but kind of tailed off as the season went on. And consistency is going to be a big thing for him. He can't just be dominant here and there to reach that level that we're talking about. He's got to bring it every single down to where you actually are impacting the way offenses strategize, how they protect their quarterback, how they call plays. And we haven't seen a guy like that in a long time play for Nebraska. And, if they can get Williams or anyone else to even sniff that territory, that changes so much because there's only so much you can scheme around when a guy is just better than everybody else on the field. And, Randy Gregory was that type of player that, no matter what teams tried to do, he was going to get his, and he was going to have an impact. Even if he wasn't getting to the quarterback, he was going to apply pressure, disrupt the timing of everything, and, again, change the way the offense called plays. Hopefully, Williams can, play up to his billing as, a 5-star plus level player, but we just haven't seen it nearly consistently enough to think that that's a sure thing. But from a potential standpoint, he's at the top of the list.
Yeah, and that was the other thing we were talking, guys that we have circled that need to make a jump. And whenever you look at this defense, if it can be a better unit in 2026, do you have individual development circled, or do you have a new scheme coming in? You saw Tony White in his first year at Nebraska kind of flip that defense and really have them playing at another level in just one off season after he stepped foot on campus. I know it's another unit, but you can look at Eckler last year and how he kind of flipped the special teams from a weak point to a strong point for this Husker team. So with a new defensive coordinator coming in, is that what you circle with this defense getting better? Or do you circle individuals like Winery, like Van Poppel, making a jump through the offseason as being the reason why this Husker defense, if it is better, would be better?
It's all Jimmy's and Joe's. Always will be. You can scheme as much as you want, but if you don't have good players, you're going to struggle. And, you talk about Tony White, what made his defense so good? He had a dominant defensive line. And Nebraska, we don't know. We talk about all the questions marks on, game wreckers. Like they just don't have very many answers right now up front. And so, if they can get better individual play up front, suddenly that scheme looks a whole lot better. If they don't, and teams are just able to pick up 6-7 yards a pop on the ground and, are in second and short every single drive, that's going to be a problem. And you can do all the blitz calls and, personnel groupings and all that stuff that you want, but it doesn't matter if you guys are getting beat off the line every single play. So that, to me, it's all about the players. Nebraska has had a talent issue in the trenches. They've had a developmental issue in the trenches. So, maybe that's part of it. Maybe new staff with new teachings and ways to connect with players. Maybe that's the key to helping unlock some of these guys to take that next step. But until those players, any one of them, take that jump, there's only so much Rob Orich and any member of his defensive coaching staff can do, because at the end of the day, it's all about talent.
What's your confidence in a guy like Owen Chambliss kind of being the quarterback of the defense? When we heard him speak when there was media availability, he seemed to have a very high football IQ, and he's a guy who's been in the Rob Orich system for a couple years now. What's your confidence coming into the season with him leading the defense?
Yeah, I think he's going to be that guy, and he needs to be. That linebacker position, there's a lot of question marks at the second level too. I think they have some, maybe more known commodities there, but from a leadership and communication standpoint, like you touched on, that's as critical as anything. And it sounds like Chambliss has been all that Nebraska had hoped he'd be in that regard. The comments like by Jameer Khan and whatnot that we've heard so far this fall seem to indicate that Chambliss has, taken the reins of the defense the way that this staff hoped that he would do. And I've been high on him for a while. You go back this summer, he was in our ranking, the Big Ten inside linebackers, in the top 5 inside linebackers in the conference. We had him as a second team preseason All Big Ten guy, because I think he has that potential, mainly because of his command of the defense and knowing where to be and how to position his teammates in the best spot for success. And that's going to be a critical component. I like the thing that gives me optimism about Nebraska's defense, despite all the questions, is they have football IQ guys like Chambliss at the middle linebacker, and then Dwayne McDougal, kind of the quarterbacking the back end at safety. And there's a lot of other veteran players. I think just the understanding of the scheme, how to recognize things pre-snap, that goes such a long way in making your defense a better overall unit. And I think having those two guys, Chambliss and McDougal, in the center of everything is going to be as critical as anything for Nebraska taking that next step defensively.
On the back end of the defense with the defensive back room, feels like there's been maybe even more competition this fall than I expected. Victor Evans is a name that you hear about this weekend that I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but we weren't talking about him this offseason. You look at the back end, I think McDougal is a safe bet to be on the field in some way, shape, or form, but you have other names with Kahn, Guthrie, Benning. If we include the nickels, you got Buford, you got Jones. It feels like outside of Andrew Marshall, the competition through this fall camp might be more than we forecasted through many of the spring and summer months.
So here are the guys that I am confident will be starters week one: Dwayne McDougal, Andrew Marshall, Donovan Jones, Jameer Khan. Okay. After that, it's kind of open. I think there's a lot of competition, like you said, especially at that. The big one is that other corner spot. And I don't think it's a matter of a lack of options. If they didn't feel good about their talent, Donovan Jones would be outside, back being the other boundary cornerback. But the fact that he's staying in the slot leads you to believe that the staff feels good enough about what they have in that cornerback room to fill that void. And, whether that's, a young guy like a Danny Odom or Jeremiah Charles, or like you said, the Victor Evans, I think they've got players that they feel good about. It's just a matter of who ends up winning the job over the next couple weeks here. So that I put that corner spot as, maybe one of the more intriguing position battles on the entire roster, just because of the level of play they have at that position. It's not a matter of needing somebody to step up. It's who's going to ultimately step up the most and win that job. So that's a good problem to have, that you do have options like that. Now I'm just curious to see who ends up, crossing the finish line first come week one.
Drop and watch it with us here at HuskerOnline.com. And Robin, before we get you out of here, kind of a two-part question. First, I want to know what's coming up from you, what's coming up from HuskerOnline.com as we make it through the first full week with the Huskers in full pads. Also curious to know, are there any coaches or players that you would be intrigued to hear from during fall camp if we get the chance to get a podium session with them?
Okay, so we're driving over to practice right now. We're going to watch the first 20 or so minutes of individuals and stretching and warm up. So I'm sure there'll be some scorching hot takes from people coming out of this one that are going to define the season based on receivers catching passes on air. So we'll have some initial observations of that. I mean, I kid, but like at least we actually get eyeballs on these guys. I mean, we saw them for about 20 minutes for practice in the spring, and we watched the spring game. That's all that we've seen in person of live football from a good percentage of projected starters on this team. So just being able to like see them in person, I think there'll be some value there. So that's coming out later today. And then I think we get Orich and like another coach and a handful of players talking after practice today. And then we'll get access Friday and Saturday. So, it's some decent availability here coming up. And we'll, hopefully learn a little bit more about some of these questions that Nebraska's trying to answer. But as far as coaches I want to hear from, I mean, Dana is always intriguing just because he doesn't have a filter and he's going to tell you exactly how it is. And if somebody's struggling, he's going to call them out on it. And I appreciate that because you just don't really get that much. I'm not as interested in, this guy's standing out in camp. I want to hear about who needs to get better and who's getting challenged, especially when a coach takes the podium and challenges a player or a position group or a side of the football, because I think that is kind of as telling as anything that you're going to get out of those otherwise stuffy podium interview sessions.
It's Robin Washut with us here, HuskerOnline.com on the Morning Hookup. Robin, appreciate your time. I'll be curious to see what players stand out for you in the 20 minutes of individual work we get to see today.
Yeah, I'm going to have a firm, concrete record prediction based off these 20 minutes. This is going to define the entire season coming up.
It's Robin Washut with us here, HuskerOnline.com. Robin, appreciate it. Have a good one.
Yep, see you guys.
There he goes, Robin Washut. Good 15-ish minutes there with Robin Washut. Really appreciate him taking some time out of his Tuesday ahead of Husker fall camp to spend some time with us here in the Morning Hookup. We'll step aside, and when we return, about some this day in sports history.
That was good.
Yeah, that's perfect. Anything cool happened this day in sports? Yeah, there are. Okay.
You know who we didn't hear a lot of last year, but we did in his freshman year? Willis McGahee.
Yep. And he was a guy that during last year, the kind of the rumblings were where he was talking about entering the portal and ends up sticking around. So I'm curious to see how his season goes.
Yeah.
He flashed in year one, but I think Matt Rule talked about it last offseason of trying to avoid guys that flash in year one, showing complacency into year two, thinking, okay, I've made it. I'm a guy who contributed last year. That same level of work that I put in last year, that's good enough for me, where you got to keep on elevating.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's one of the guys that you think of whenever I think back to that quote from Rule.
Who else are some of those guys? Jeremiah Charles looks a lot different this year.
Did you hear Matt Rule about how they put on weight for him? He mentioned it on Saturday, kind of interesting, where they like the doctors found some sort of condition in his stomach that was keeping him from intaking the necessary calories. So they went in and like had a little mini procedure done on him that helped that and allowed him to eat the number of calories that were necessary for him to put on weight. That was like, as a coaching staff, they were PO'd because he wasn't putting on the weight like he should have, and then they went and got him checked out and realized there was a stomach condition with him that was keeping him from being able to eat all the calories necessary, which those guys have to put in. It's ridiculous how many calories they have to take in, especially during the season.
I want a big year out of Jordan Ochoa too. I think he's a freak.
It's the morning hookup with you, a Tuesday morning. YZ and Elijah taking you through the show today. Hooksy will be back in tomorrow. Big thank you to Robin Washut joining us ahead of Husker fall camp practice. We heard from him here at last segment. So a big thank you to him. Plus, this day in sports history before we get you out, we got about 4 minutes left this hour. 3:30. So quick, we'll take you through a couple. First one I want to mention. How about this day, 1929? Babe Ruth becomes the first MLB player to hit 500 home runs. He would do so in a 6-5 loss to the Cleveland Indians. By the way, I sent you some of the Ken Burns baseball. Have you made it to the 1920s Yankees team yet?
I have barely had any time to listen to it. I was the other day while I was driving a little bit, but it is pretty slow.
It's slow. It's a narrative history of baseball. So he tells the story of baseball through like the most interesting and influential people in baseball. So at times it's slow, but at times there are some really fascinating things.
It might not be something for you to listen to while you're driving.
No.
It might put you to sleep at the wheel.
This is a like before bed.
Yeah.
Like you've made it through dinner, lights are off in the living room or even laying in bed and you flip it on. That's the time to watch it. But 1929. Also, 1950, while we're talking the Yankees here, in a 4-for-38 slump, Yankees great Joe DiMaggio is benched for the first time in his career. His replacement, Cliff Mapes, hits a home run during that time.
Didn't Joe DiMaggio have like the longest hitting streak ever? It was like 56 games. Pretty sure he holds the record for the longest hitting streak.
Yeah, 56 consecutive games.
Yeah. Joe DiMaggio.
Lasted from May 15th until July 17th, 1941.
Got a hit in every single game.
That's crazy.
1961, Milwaukee Braves feature Hall of Fame pitcher Warren Spahn records victory number 300. I always like to use Warren Spahn in the MLB The Show video games because he had such a weird delivery and like a super hanging curveball. Dudes couldn't hit it, so he was absolutely untouchable in those games.
I always liked using why is his name escaping me? Satchel Paige, because his pitches was like the only one in the game that didn't have like a 4-seam fastball and everything. He had the creeper and all those crazy pitches. So that was always fun. Let's see here. 1993, Roger Clemens records his 2000th career strikeout. At the time, he's playing for the Red Sox. You're welcome.
1992, the Oakland A's criticized Jose Canseco for leaving the stadium before the end of the game. Sounds like a Jose Canseco story.
Sounds like an Antonio Brown story. How about in 2008? We talked about this guy a little bit yesterday. We'll talk about him again today. The U.S. 4x100 meter freestyle relay team of Michael Phelps, Cullen Jones, Jason Lezak, and Garrett Weber-Gale beats France by 8/100ths of a second to win gold and smash the world record at the Beijing Olympics. Still one of my all-time favorite moments in sports, that U.S. comeback.
Oh, yeah. I remember watching that live. Just anytime Phelps was on the screen, you had to.
It was must-see TV.
You had to watch.
It was must-see TV, but it still gives me chills to go watch the U.S. come back late, and then Michael Phelps going crazy on the side. Wild. That French team was talking so much smack before, too, so satisfying. Great American moments. That'll do it for us here in hour one of the morning hookup. We'll step aside, get you to ABC News, get you to Jeff Moats with local news, and come back with more of the morning hookup in the 10 o'clock hour.
You've got your very own handyman. They have so many things to look at with the countertops, vanities, mirrors, all the lighting, all the faucets, all the hardware, different toilets, shower tools. You name it, they would have it. Hi, I'm Kathy Schleif, and Handyman helped us greatly with our home bathroom remodeling project. I recently moved to South Dakota. It's amazing how staff is right there to help you. We did get a new toilet and the hardware to go with them, and a new ceiling fan for the bathroom at Handyman. We found a special toilet, so it has a skirt on the toilet, so you don't see the hardware. It's quiet. The bathroom fan is working great. It's actually sucking the moisture out like it should.
In August, save $50 on all vanity cabinets and $200 on walk-in tubs. For the very best in bathrooms, come to Handyman under the arch on Sun Valley Boulevard, Lincoln.
When I hit my 50s, I felt like things were slowing down.
This is Sandra's Metamucil story.
I started taking Metamucil for digestion, but had no idea it would impact so much more. Not only did Metamucil help me feel more regular, but my heart health saw the benefits too.
Metamucil. One simple routine, 4 health benefits. Digestive health starts here. Go to Metamucil.com for more details.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight illnesses like pneumococcal pneumonia and RSV. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and can help protect you from getting really sick. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. See more at PfizerForAll.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Listen Saturday mornings to Start Moving with the experts from Coldwell Banker NHS Real Estate. They'll have all the hints to guide you through the process of buying or selling a home smoothly. Start Moving every Saturday morning at 9:30 right here on KFOR.
If you watch home remodeling shows, there's always a surprise that requires extra money or prevents customers from getting all they wanted. At Reynolds Design and Remodeling, surprises are extremely rare.
Our experienced electricians, plumbers, and carpenters are good at knowing what's behind the walls before work begins. I'm Pam Magner, General Manager. If we encounter a surprise, we eat the extra cost nearly every time.
The surprise of no surprises. Choose wisely. Get started at ReynoldsDesignRemodel.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
Statewide, 4 out of 5 employers who post a job in ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
ZipRecruiter. Severe weather in Nebraska could be a matter of seconds between life and death. Before, during, and after, you can count on KFOR's Operation Stormwatch, life-saving information powered by Golden Rule Contractors and Lincoln's KFOR.
Lincoln's local news, talk, sports, and weather station. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR, and KFRX HD3, Lincoln.
From ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. At least 3,000 people are still missing following this week's deadly earthquake in Colombia. The death toll more than 200, and those who made it are talking about how they survived. ABC's Faith Abube is in Medellin.
In all likelihood, this is going to be the last time that we see Luigi Mangione in court before jury selection in what plans to be a blockbuster state trial that will begin right after Labor Day. Now, today's hearing is a pre-trial conference to try and iron out those last-minute details, including media access and what is likely to be one of the most high-profile trials that we've seen in quite some time.
That actually met Rivers at the Luigi Mangione trial. There's been no ruling yet on whether cameras will be allowed in the state trial. It's set to begin next month. ABC News legal analyst Shanna Lloyd says she would be surprised if cameras are allowed in the courtroom.
This would be a very significant departure from what normally occurs in New York state cases. Typically, they have one of the most restrictive bans against any sort of audiovisual recording of a trial. So this is a very unique departure.
Mangione accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in 2024. He was in court today, likely for the last time before jury selection begins next month. High interest rates plus high prices equals fewer existing home sales.
Month-to-month sales of existing homes slipped 1.7% last month, a softer decline than the month before. And compared to a year ago, sales were actually a little higher. Realtors blame the 2026 drop on rising interest rates and a limited number of existing homes for sale. For sellers, the upside is that the average pre-owned house is sitting on the market for only 29 days. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
How much do you owe in your plastic? Americans' credit card debt reached $1.26 trillion last month, increasing by $21 billion in the second quarter, according to the New York Federal Reserve. This is ABC News.
And I'm not one to say I told you so, but I switched to Pure Talk over a year ago, and ever since, I've been telling people there's no better wireless company out there. Well, a few months ago, a massive survey was conducted. 123,000 people were asked to rate their wireless carrier in 4 categories: coverage, support, data, and overall value. Well, the results are in. Guess which wireless company was the only wireless company to get 5 stars in every category? Yeah, Pure Talk. 5 stars, every category. To celebrate, Pure Talk is offering the first 3 months of any plan for just $15 a month, including their top-tier unlimited plan. No contract, no commitment, just a very inexpensive way to test drive the only American wireless company with 5 stars in every category. Just dial pound 250, say micro, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service will take it from there. Again, pound 250, micro. And yes, I told you so.
The driver in a deadly crash this past spring has turned herself in. Good morning, I'm Jeff Modes. Right now we're at 83 degrees at KFOR. An arrest in a fatal crash that happened back in May. It was on Monday that 60-year-old Joy Fritz Hawk of Harvard turned herself in and was cited for misdemeanor motor vehicle homicide before she was released. Back on May 22nd, Fritz Hawk was involved in a crash at 48th and R where her van with 3 people inside collided with an SUV, also with 3 people inside. 5 people were taken to the hospital, including 84-year-old Maxine Sundberg of Clarks, who later died from her injuries on June 14th. Investigators believe Fritz Hawk unintentionally caused the death of Sundberg by failing to yield, and that led to the crash. Fritz Hawk will be arraigned in September. The Lincoln Sports Foundation last December completed a $1.2 million project that added 6 hardwood courts for basketball and volleyball to its sports complex near 70th and Arbor Road. And now 8 months later, LSF is expanding again. Announced on Sunday a $1.6 million project to renovate the lobby and mezzanine space that's been converted into existing indoor space for 4 more dedicated volleyball courts and also can be used for other purposes, including basketball. The project will also include doubling restroom capacity. Sam Leswing is the facilities director for the Lincoln Sports Foundation.
We need more court capacity, but we also need to realize that if we dilute the market too much, 5 years down the road, maybe we're ending up in the same position we are right now.
The project would be funded with $1 million from the Lancaster County's Visitor Improvement Fund, which is funded by sales tax on dining and hotel stays. Half the remaining money would come from a $300,000 grant that is contingent on matching funds from donors and sponsorships. And going on right now, Mayor Larry Giller Barrett is being joined by community representatives at Brownell Elementary School to talk about the Safe Routes to School program. We'll have more about this in later newscasts. Sunshine today. It will be hot with a high around 95. I'm Jeff Motes, KFOR News.
Save big money at Menards. Menards is your paint destination, offering the selection you need to refresh your home in one weekend. Pristine exterior paint is Dutch Boy's most durable solution for all-weather protection. With its rain rinse technology, water naturally rinses away dirt and grime. Plus, it resists cracking and peeling. Save big money on pristine exterior paint. Plus, view our weekly flyer on Menards.com and start your painting project today.
Save big money at Menards.
New message.
Your Social Security number has been suspended. If you do not contact us, your account will
be deactivated. Scammers are aggressive when they contact a potential victim. Social Security Administration employees will never threaten you for information or promise benefits in exchange for information. In those cases, the call is fraudulent, and you should just hang up. Don't provide any personal or financial information to these thieves. Call the Social Security Fraud Hotline at 1-800.
This is the Morning Hookup on KFOR.
Welcome back into hour 2 of the Morning Hookup. Elijah Herbal and YZ rocking with you on a Tuesday morning. Bill Hooks out for the day, back in for the rest of the week beginning tomorrow. We were supposed to have Jeff Moats in here this segment. News calls for Jeff Moats. He is down. The mayor has a news conference here this morning, so maybe we'll hear from Moatsy a little later this hour. Maybe we'll hear from Moatsy coming your way on a Wednesday. We shall see regardless. Plenty to get into here on a Tuesday morning. We'll have Brian Munson joining us here in just a second to get some more thoughts on Husker football fall camp. But Caleb, as NFL training camp rolls forward, I want to dive in, and we've talked about this before. We're not yet ready to make our season predictions for the NFL season, which, if I remember, went pretty poorly for all of us last year. Who won that? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
I don't think any of us did very, very well.
Nobody ever does.
No.
You always think you know, and then the season comes around, and you're like, wow, I actually don't know anything.
I have our MLB season predictions somewhere in my computer here, and I am scared to look at them. What I've done is I've scheduled an email to myself and to you and to Hooksy that I believe, I think it's the last week of the MLB regular season. That email is set to deliver to all of our inboxes and let us know what we picked. And I could go back and check and see what it looks like, but I want to be surprised about how bad we are. So we'll be doing something similar for the NFL season. We'll pick our division champions, our MVPs, we'll probably stay away from any playoff predictions, but we'll get division champions. We'll get MVPs, defensive player of the year, things like that. So we'll be bringing that here probably in a couple weeks, if I had to guess, once we probably get after that Nebraska-Ohio game right before week 1 of the season. So any training camp injuries or storylines that are completed are done and not still up in the air. So we'll get to that. But as I look at the NFL divisions, you have some divisions that the odds makers in Vegas think are going to be close. You have some that they think teams are going to run away with. I'd like to get your thoughts. If there's any sleeper picks that you have in the NFL this year, we'll go division by division. Again, not our official picks. I'll let you know the odds, and I'll let you know whether you think – I want you to tell me, Caleb, and I'll get my thoughts as well, whether you think the odds makers got it right or whether you think there's some value plays out there. Okay. All right? So let's start. We'll go through the AFC first, and I'll begin with the division that somewhat intriguing, AFC South.
Okay.
Currently, the leader in the clubhouse, according to Vegas, for the AFC South is the Houston Texans at plus 110. Then you have the Jags at plus 245. You have the Colts at plus 380, and then the Titans way down at plus 800. Do the odds makers have it right?
I think they have it right, having the Texans close to being favorites, but still
plus money.
Still plus money. Man, there's just a giant question mark around this entire division, in my opinion. I think each team, you can make a case for them being pretty good this season. Even the Titans, I will throw that out there. I think the Titans will improve this year. But just like the Texans, they've had offensive line problems for how many years? You've had your defense that has just been absolutely locked down, but your offense hasn't lived up to the expectations, and your defense has to go out there and get you stop after stop after stop after stop. The Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, they had a good season last year. Is that real, though? Can they replicate that? Can they be the same team that they were last year?
Does Travis Hunter playing one side of the ball help their defense out and give them, if I were to circle an issue with the Jaguars last year, it's that their defense was middle of the road.
Mm-hmm.
Their offense had to go put up points, and they did well with that. I thought it was Trevor Lawrence's best professional season. That's where I would go with this division. Is I think they have it right that the Texans should be favored. I think the Jaguars should be closer to the Texans atop that division. I'd put them both closer to like plus 180.
Well, it's just you can keep going too, and
I mean the Colts. Daniel Jones, his health, but what does that do for me? I thought
that's the question mark.
The Colts are one of the better coached teams in the NFL last year. They faded down the stretch when Jones got hurt, but they have Jonathan Taylor. They have a great offensive line, a capable defense.
They did lose Michael Pittman, which I think will be an adjustment for them, but a big guy for them was Josh Downs. The connection with Daniel Jones and Josh Downs last year was incredible. And like you said, you have Jonathan Taylor. And I love who's their coach? Is it Steichen?
Yeah, Shane Steichen.
Shane Steichen, their coach. I love him as an offensive mind. So yeah, the Colts at plus 380 sitting there. I think that's a pretty good number just based on you're getting Daniel Jones healthy. You were a solid team last year, and the rest of this division also has question marks too. So
I mean, the team that the Titans ain't winning this division.
No, they're not. I think they'll be better, but they're not going to win the division.
The question for the Titans this year is not are they a playoff team? Is Cam Ward your guy for the future? You've gotten him some better offensive options. Is he your guy for the future? That's the question. I think I agree with the order in which the Vegas odds makers have set this division. I think it might be a little closer at the top than they have set. I think there could be some value in betting either the Colts or the Jags.
Yeah, I think you could throw a dart at one of those, the Jags or the Colts for sure, and you get a pretty good number.
I think I could say the same thing about the AFC North.
Yeah,
I think they have the order right here on the odds with the Ravens sitting at about minus 110. You have the Bengals sitting at about plus 185, the Steelers at plus 500, and the Browns at plus 2100. I think they have gotten the order right. I would agree with their odds on the Steelers and the Browns. I think the Bengals are a lot more alive in that division than the odds would make you think. I wouldn't put the Ravens at minus money.
I want to agree with you. I just feel like we say this every year about the Bengals. Oh, this is the Bengals year. This is the year we're going to see prime Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and that connection.
They went and got, it's Dexter Lawrence there on the inside.
They did improve their defense.
That's a huge plus for them. They still have some questions in the secondary, but you could argue that offense, once it gets rolling, and here's the problem with the Bengals, and I love Zach Taylor. It never feels like they turn things on until week 5. It feels like they're always figuring things out through the first 4 weeks of the season. Week 5 rolls around, they turn into a competent football team. Then they're the best team in the league come December.
Yeah.
So, which at times has been too little, too late, but the team you don't want to play at the end of the season. That's my question for them. Can they actually start off the season right? If they do, I think they are very alive to win that division.
But do the Ravens, how can I put this? Have the Ravens shown you enough to be like a minus 112 favorite to win this division?
Not with the new head coach either.
That's what I think they have a lot of question marks too.
I don't love their defense still.
Yeah.
Their defense took a pretty big step back last year. Zay Flowers is their wide receiver 1. I have some questions about. If the Ravens win this division, it'll be on the legs of Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. And we'll see. Maybe a new coaching staff can unlock that offense a little bit, but
there were a lot of times last year where I just wasn't impressed with Baltimore.
And they had a great head coach. Harbaugh's a great head coach.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Giants, I think they got one. We'll get to the Giants in just a second. But the interesting division, AFC East, it's a 2-team race, according to Vegas. The Bills and the Patriots. The Bills just slightly minus money, minus 135. I'm seeing Patriots plus 125, and then the Jets and the Dolphins are way down there. We don't need to get into them.
Feels pretty right, to be honest. Even
coin flip between those two teams is about what I'd say.
Even with the Patriots going to the Super Bowl last year, I think the Bills minus 136 might be a little bit long, but it's pretty accurate in my opinion.
Yeah, pretty close to coin flip odds between those two teams. I have no disagreement there. That division will be a 2-team race. The question is, does a head coaching change getting away from McDermott with the Bills unlock them and make them a team that is actually dangerous come late in the season? Feels like they've been a regular season team over the last couple of years, and I can totally see them winning that division, but being a division champion is not what the Bills are going for this year.
I kind of have Bills fatigue a little bit, like waiting for them to get over the hump. They're always in the playoffs every year. It's them and the Bengals for me. Every year it's like, oh, this is the year that they're going to do it. They're going to get back to the Super Bowl. And it's the same story every time you get into the playoffs. So it's kind of like being a Nebraska fan. You have a little bit of fatigue of hearing that this is their year every year. You're just kind of waiting to see it. They have the pieces, they have everything on the field, but can they actually get to it?
Okay, last division, the AFC West. This is the one that I think You can make some money on this year if you're right. It's a 3-team race. The Chiefs are at plus 160, the Chargers plus 190, the Broncos, the defending AFC champions, by the way, no bias there for me, plus 225, and then the Raiders way down there at plus 2,000. So all plus money. This has been the first time in a long time you can get the Chiefs at +1 or at plus money. If you are a Chiefs fan, you think this is the year for them. The Chargers, new offensive coordinator, can that unlock Justin Herbert? Did learn, by the way, yesterday, Adam Gase is their passing game coordinator. That maybe changes some things, but I am a believer that the offense that McDaniel puts together, always dangerous. And then the Broncos at plus 225, they return most of the roster off of last year's team, which won the AFC West and won the regular season AFC crown. So that is an interesting division. Do you have any problems with the odds?
No, I think the odds are pretty accurate. This is just tough. I don't know who wins this division. I think are people sleeping on the Chiefs at all with Mahomes coming off of his injury and coming back?
Well, to me, what this division comes down to, if Mahomes can elevate the roster like he did 2-3 years ago, that is a division winner. But this is the most hotly contested AFC West we've seen since Mahomes has been the starting quarterback of the Chiefs. This is the closest the rosters have been at the top. It's the most, to me, competitive division in the AFC, if not in the NFL.
Yeah.
This division will
Absolutely.
be, we'll fast forward to week 14, this division will still be up for grabs between the Chargers, Chiefs, and Broncos. It'll be who closes the season strongest. And all three of these teams have tough schedules to end the season. Chiefs probably have the most difficult. They have like an 8-week stretch that's just brutal. Broncos have like a 5-week stretch to close the year. That's not great. And then the Chargers, they have some tough opponents there at the end as well. So the Chargers might have the easiest path down the stretch of this season, which could determine some things. That's personally why I think the Chargers probably win the AFC West this year. But the Chargers are also known to blow it late in the season. So
yeah. Been saying the same thing for Herbert for years as well. So
you could tell me you're picking any of the Chiefs, Chargers, and Broncos in the AFC West, and I'll say, you know what, good pick.
Yeah, I think the odds are pretty accurate on all three.
Pretty indicative of that. Hey, don't touch the Raiders to the 10-foot pole.
No.
On the NFC side of things, we'll start with the NFC North. Lions plus 170, Packers plus 225, Bears plus 305. We'll say Vikings plus 510. That is the only pick that I'm like, why are the Vikings plus 510?
Yeah.
They don't have a quarterback. I would put the Vikings closer to like plus 1,000.
Wow, you think JJ's that bad?
Well, it's not going to be JJ. It's going to be Kyler Murray. And I'm not a Kyler Murray believer either.
No, I'm actually somewhat more of a McCarthy believer than I am Kyler Murray. But
I'm at like 5-12, 6-11 for the Vikings this year. I don't think they're going to be very good. I also
that defense is just insane though. That Brian Flores defense, I think that'll always keep you in a game.
This is one where a division where I disagree with the odds makers. I would put Packers and Bears at the top and Lions in third.
Yeah.
I worry.
Has the Lions ship sailed a little bit?
I worry that the Lions, exactly, their ship has sailed. Their defense has taken a step back. Jared Goff has proven himself to be a quarterback that is good, not great. Sorry to say it, Lions fans, but I feel like whenever the lights are brightest, Jared Goff takes a step back. I saw what Caleb Williams did at the end of last year. I think that Bears offense is incredibly difficult to stop. The Packers are always consistent, and Jordan Love might be the last gunslinger that's still left in the NFL. He is a true gunslinger that just, hey, he'll throw some picks in some games, but there's other games where he's going to go for 450 yards and put the team on his back. Love Josh Jacobs. I had the Vikings and the Bears, or sorry, the Packers and the Bears at the top of this division. I'd put the Lions. If I was to change the odds on this, I might go Bears and Packers both around plus 200, and then I'd go Lions close to that plus 350, and then I'd go Vikings way down there like plus 1,000. That's about what I'd do.
Can't really disagree with you.
We shall see. NFC East. It is Eagles plus 115, Cowboys plus 235, Commanders plus 460, Giants plus 600. Eagles still have the most talent, I think, in this division. They have a new offensive coordinator. We'll see how that goes. As for the Cowboys, you got to stop George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott, fully healthy. Still questions about the Cowboys defense. They're going to have to outscore some teams this year. I don't have problems with how these odds are laid out this year in the NFC East.
No, I don't either. Seems pretty accurate to me. I'm interested to see what the Eagles look like without AJ Brown. If they lean more on Saquon, because that receiver room, you don't really have a number one guy in that room. I mean, yes, you have Devontae Smith, but
And you went and got Mekhi Lemon. He's got to step in and instantly be a guy.
who can you trust in that receiver room to like win a one-on-one ball?
You're seeing like a 3rd and 8. You're just gonna toss it up on the outside. There isn't one.
Yeah, and you got Jalen Hurts throwing to him. That's what I kind of worry about with the Eagles, and just already their offensive struggles last year. How much can they improve from that? If they can really lean on Saquon and use Hurts' legs more.
That's a big key. They didn't use Hurts' legs enough last year. They tried to make him a pocket passing quarterback. That's not Jalen Hurts.
No. So I still think the Eagles should be the favorite just based on who else you have in this division. The Giants, we talked about the Titans earlier and how they'll be better. I think the Giants will be better as long as they can stay healthy again. You saw a lot of the flashes last year of the mix of Dart, Neighbors, and Scadaboo. But I think those three combined, like on the field, I think they got to play like one possession together, and that was pretty much it. So if everybody can stay healthy, that'll be a really fun team to watch.
From a Giants point of view, a win for them this year would be in the hunt for a wild card spot, even if you don't make the wild card spot. If you're sitting around 2nd or 3rd in that division and in the hunt by the time December rolls around for a wild card spot, ultimate win for the Giants. I think they have the talent and the coach to go and do that. I'm not sure they're a playoff team this year, though.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Love their defense, though. Love the potential they have on that team that could be 2 or 3 years away from being a real contender in the NFC East. We shall see. NFC, we'll keep the most competitive division for last, NFC West. Let's go to the NFC South. Battle of mid. Buccaneers at plus 170. They don't want to extend Baker Mayfield. They feel like they are real close to just going full rebuild, especially letting Mike Evans go. Levante David retires. They are on a downward trajectory. The New Orleans Saints are at plus 270. What do you think of Tyler Shuck? I think is the question there. Pretty great things about Jordan Tyson in the wide receiver room. They have Chris Olave. I think that offense could be solid. Then you have the Carolina Panthers at plus 310. Bryce Young led them to the playoffs last year, gave the Rams all they could handle in that wild card round. And then you have the Falcons at plus 400. I'm not taking the Falcons at plus 400. I'll tell you that. I don't love that.
No.
Not good odds. But that is just indicative of how rough this division is this year. This feels like a dartboard division.
Yeah, I would say
my favorite value.
Saints.
Yeah, Saints maybe. Does Bryce Young take another step forward? Last year felt like, okay, maybe this guy's actually got the potential to be an NFL quarterback. We shall see. It's a dartboard division. You could tell me any team aside from the Falcons wins this division. I wouldn't be surprised. Fair.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of the Bucs anymore either.
Again, it feels like they are just setting themselves up for full rebuild.
Yeah, losing Mike Evans.
They still got Godwin. They still got Baker, but as I talked about, they don't want to extend Baker because I think they know they got a rebuild coming. This was like the last gasp for the Buccaneers of, can this be a playoff team?
If they have any receiver, if they have Egbuka or a Chris Godwin get hurt this season, good luck with what you have in that receiver room.
And Godwin's been injury prone.
Yeah. Good luck with what you got in that receiver room.
Bucky Irving's going to have to take a lion's share of the carries this year.
Yep, no more Rashad White. Vita Vea was in trade talks, and now they've kind of just like, I guess, catered to him, and they're like trying to keep him around. Just feels like there's not a lot of positives going on in Tampa Bay right now.
No.
So them being, I mean, it is plus 170, but them being the favorite in this division, there's definitely value on some of the other teams.
Feels like a division where 8 and 9 can win either division.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a dartboard division. And then most competitive division, last one here before we get you to Brian Munson, the NFC West. The Rams at plus 100, Seahawks plus 205, 49ers plus 305, and then the Cardinals, the worst odds in the NFL to win their division, at plus 10,000.
Yeah. It's hard not to just take the chalk and say the Rams.
I'm surprised the Rams are still plus money.
Yeah.
To be 100% honest with you.
Yeah.
Stafford, the wide receiver core, great. Like Kyron Williams, the running back. Defensively, if they get Aaron Donald back, I expect to see those odds shift considerably. But they have Myles Garrett. I mean, just feels like a team that is almost inevitable.
Yeah. It's hard to really make an argument against them. There's stacked from top to bottom.
With the electrical substation out in San Fran,
Gosh.
I would not take the Rams at the 49ers at plus 305.
If you go look at the 49ers depth chart and just the amount of O's and Q's that you see, like guys out and guys questionable because they're getting hurt in training camp, it's unbelievable. They need to do something about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it went from like conspiracy theory of like, oh, this electrical substation, and now like people are like, okay, this is getting strange.
Yeah.
All the soft tissue injuries. It makes me think more that they have an issue with some of their training staff, and not the electrical substation. The electrical substation's an easy one to circle and be like, conspiracy theory. It's all these radio waves that are getting their players hurt. Let's start and be real here and say, at the very least, they have an issue with their training staff and how they're practicing.
Yeah.
And how they're getting guys ready for the season. So don't love the Niners at plus 305. Kind of feels like they're another team that's a little bit on the downswing with just aging players within that team. George Kittle feels like he's hurt every single year now at this point. Christian McCaffrey, whenever he's healthy, he's awesome. Whenever he's not healthy, there's not much left in that running back room there. Great coaching staff there, but what is Kyle Shanahan's status after this car crash that apparently left him with a bit of a brain injury and some broken bones? Very interesting there. Seahawks, though, might be a little disrespectful to have them at plus 205 coming off a Super Bowl victory, but they lose Kenneth Walker. Their defense should be great again. We shall see. This is one that I talked about, like, come back to me in December. I feel like this one is a race that'll be between the Seahawks and the Rams in December, and both the teams will be in the playoffs, whether it's wild card or division champion. I just think this Rams roster by the end of the year is too good.
Yeah.
So don't hate the odds there. Feels fair. If Aaron Donald comes back, though, the Rams will be minus odds to win that division. So we'll see. There's a look around the NFL, though. The division odds, we'll see how things change. Injuries happen during training camp. People overreact to preseason games. So these odds could still change. We'll make our predictions for the NFL season here in a couple of weeks. We'll step aside, and when we return, we'll get caught up with Brian Muntz and HuskerOnline.com talking some Husker Fall Camp. Man, I'm so jacked about the NFL season this year.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to spend 10 hours every Sunday sitting on my couch. It feels like anytime I schedule something to do on a Sunday, I miss the NFL game of the season. And anytime I sit on my couch for 10 hours, it's like, oh, noon slate sucks. One good 3 o'clock game. It's like, oh, I schedule something on a Sunday, and here is a 49-45 thriller. Welcome back into the morning hookup. Elijah Herbal and YZ with you here on a Tuesday. We're excited to welcome Brian Munson to the show, HuskerOnline.com. I know we got plenty of fall camp thoughts coming from Brian, and be good to hear from you. How you doing on a Tuesday morning?
I'm good. We not only Nebraska camp going, but the youngest son camp has started up last night too. It was 106 degrees, I think, when they were going out on the football field. It was brutal. But yeah, the fall, quote unquote fall is here, guys, and we're just a few weeks away.
Well, we talked yesterday with Dane Todd, the importance of hydration during fall camp for all those high school athletes out there. You go in like the 50-50 Pedialyte water mix, you just go in water. What's the plan here to keep the hydration levels up through fall camp?
So great question, because I've actually just got in buying a bunch of Pedialyte for my oldest son, who's a Division II wide receivers coach up in Minnesota, and he's got a bunch of guys with fallout, and it's dehydration related mainly. So yeah, we're doing mainly an electrolyte powder into about a 32-ounce bottle of water, and then I actually am a big it's a big mineral sea salt that I usually add like a pinch of it into my electrolyte water, just to kind of like remineralize the body. It's not a big thing, you just grab a 5-pound bag of it. It lasts about 10 years or whatever if you do it right. But it's just literally like a little pinch of salt, and you just put it in there at the very end and just make sure it's good and dissolved and into it. There's a really good Pedialyte powder out there. For anybody, parents out there that are wondering what to kind of do, there's a really good Pedialyte powder that people that do all the fasting, like the multiple day fasts, like when they do bone broth and Pedialyte water. There's one that everybody kind of recommends that I've kind of caught on to, that we've had some really good success with. That's the stuff I've been ordering for my kid. But yeah, we do a lot of electrolyte water with a little bit of mineral salt on top of that. But yes, and I tell you what, last night was such a grind. It also matters like what else you're putting into your body. So like Greek yogurt, bananas, strawberries, a lot of that stuff up front, and into some peanut butter sandwiches and stuff like that. So yeah, lots of that stuff going on in this house right now. Just so odd that we're talking about it, because it was literally a topic at 10 o'clock last night.
Are you spending more money on electrolytes or on food? I know there's 6,000 calories you got to be taken in during fall camp if you're an athlete.
It's still food, but I mean, the electrolyte powder, I just got done making an order for the entire wide receiver room at Bemidji State, $180 for basically 390 serving Pedialyte tubs for them to kind of go ahead and use. So Pedialyte drink is not cheap. You don't need to overdo it because of flavor. It's a function, right? So if it's still like a flavor-based thing, then you can find another way to kind of, whether it's Gatorade and you're putting it on top of it or whatever. But I find it to where it's very important to remember, don't overdo that stuff, because it's doing a job. So that's a very important thing, because you're going to run through all that stuff. It's going to cost you a lot of money.
It's Brian Munson with us here, HuskerOnline.com. And Brian, as we transition here to Husker football, we spent some time back in hour one. I want to get your thoughts on it, talking about the Husker defense. And a lot of questions on that defensive side of the ball. The question I posed to Robin, and I want to pose to you as well, is if this defense does make a jump here in 2026, is it because of Rob Orridge and a new scheme? And I can take you back and look at the jump that Tony White brought, a lot of the same guys that were carryovers from that last Scott Frost, last Mickey Joseph year, where he kind of elevated that team, that defense, by playing a scheme that fit their strengths better. You can also look at Coach Eckler last year with the special teams and the jump he allowed some of the same guys to go out and make. I know he added a kicker and a punter, but the guys that were going and making the plays, kick return, punt return, kick coverage, I mean, it was a lot of the same guys that are going out and making plays. So you can look at the scheme, or do you look at the individual player development that needs to happen on that defense for this defense to make a jump?
I mean, and heck, go back to Bo Pelini taking things over for Craig Bull. I mean, just, it was a lot of the same personnel and just kind of put it into a little bit different groups and got better production out of it. I think it's going to be this year, if that jump happens, I think it's going to be a little bit of both. I think, number one, I think Orch's defense puts some of the current roster and some of the guys that they got out of the portal into better spots where they can be productive. I think that you had more traditional, 1 technique, 3 technique, 4 or 5 technique kind of defensive ends or defensive linemen that were already on the roster. I think also that there's some guys that have made some significant jumps, that are currently on the team right now, like a Jeremiah Charles. He's kind of the talk of the town. I'm going to bring up some stuff about him in Tunnel Talk on Friday about some of the things I've been hearing privately about Jeremiah. But I think that, there's a few of these guys that I think that they just needed a little bit more help. That I think that, when you can get that pressure and cause some chaos up front, you can make quarterbacks, and offenses kind of have to like get out of timing and get out of like how the routes are supposed to work here. And you're really being disruptive to all that. You can then cause some big plays for the defense. I think that that's some of the things I've been kind of hearing about. I think that those are the types of words that you want to hear when it comes to like a defense, able to be disruptive. And it's kind of a 6 1/2 dozen of the other. You got to realize too that Nebraska's scrimmaging against Nebraska. You want good things to be happening in both sides, and you are hearing that. It's just, you want them to kind of, sharpen each other and not take away the type of stock away from a practice where you say the offense or the defense is inferior to the other side of the football. Like, we're going to be completely and totally lopsided. Like, I don't think I've heard that quite yet. I think I've heard about jumps in various sides of the football, and on the defensive side, I think that those jumps are going to have a lot to do with the organization and basically the reallotment to the 4-2-5, and I think also the personal development that's happened with a lot of those players that are currently on the roster or the guys that came in from the portal.
It's Brian Munson with us from HuskerOnline.com, and Brian, we were talking about how on any defense that is competitive, you're going to have a guy who is a game wrecker, who's going to disrupt something. And you brought that up too. You said the word disruptive. On the defensive line, who is it for you? Any candidates, any guys that you think could be that? Is it a Riley Van Poppel? Is it Cam Lenhart? Do you want to see a bigger jump from Williams Nwaneri? Who is it for you on the defensive line that can kind of disrupt an offense and their rhythm?
I think I'm optimistically hoping for like a Williams Nwaneri to make a big jump. I think that that's a guy that, he has all the talent in the world. It just kind of all has to kind of come together for him. And this may be like that kind of stimulus that allows him to do it. But I mean, if I'm going to be maybe a little bit more conservative, like in my picks about, who I feel like is going to make that jump based on previous body of work and, maybe just kind of that natural progression. I got 2 guys that come to mind. You mentioned one. Cam Lenhart, to me, is a guy that's getting loads of praise so far this fall camp from the defensive side of the football. So that's a great thing. He's always been kind of that mature leader. He's a guy that obviously stepped up, played a role as a freshman ever since his freshman year at Nebraska. He's a little bit of that kind of versatile defensive lineman too that really suits what Rob Ulrich does, like where he talks about having guys kind of line up in different spots and twisting and moving guys around a little bit. Cam really will be successful with that because he's the kind of guy that can play, down to a 3 and maybe all the way out to like a 7. And that type of versatility right there will be huge because you can line him up as a 3 and twist out to a 7 or vice versa. And I think that that's going to be really successful with what Rob Ulrich likes to do. He likes to get really disruptive and move things around up front. But the other guy that I would say that I think everybody's kind of like, I have been since his high school film. I see a lot of Grant Wistrom in him whenever I put on the film from his high school days. And I think we've seen some flashes of it since he's been to Lincoln, but Kate Pedshock could be the guy that really breaks out. And I think that, he's that even front for him, putting him in more of a traditional 5, and maybe allowing him to kind of go to work that way. I think that he maybe got lost a little bit more inside the trees, when you're kind of going with an odd front. You could have played him maybe a little bit more to Joker spot, but I think that would have been a bit of a stretch for him athletically. I think that he really finds a great home playing either a 5 or a 7. He could probably move down to a 4-eye if you're going to do something, but it's not really where you want him. You want to be able to pin his ears back a little bit and tell him to go ahead and be disruptive. I think he could go to work on an offensive tackle and really give them fits with his motor and his athleticism. So Petchak would be like my pick right now to be a guy that I think could really take a massive step forward with the changes in the defensive front.
It's Brian Munson with us here, and we have a special guest appearance here. Thew Malone comes and knocks on the door and says, "You guys have Brian Munson on. I got one question for Brian." So, Thew, I turn it over to you.
And Brian, it's not even a Huey Lewis in the News question either. So I missed the rejoin. Hopefully they treated you well this morning. But always great to hear you. Kind of keeping with that defensive line topic. Obviously, I think most of your people that follow this really closely, that's their biggest concern as to how far this team is going to go or not. And a lot of people are like, hey, if we can throw 8 to 10 bodies out at them, at least get average play out of that and keep us in some games, it's going to be great. Well, we have a lot of unknown commodities. What have you seen / heard out of some of these guys who might potentially be able to give you good minutes, like the gentleman from Pitt? Is it like Stoudemire, like Gabe Moore? Gabe Moore, or even the Berryman kid. I mean, is there a chance he can maybe crack into a rotation this year?
Well, I think that, the more bodies, the better, because they're going to need to stay fresh with what Rob wants to do up front. Like I said, when you get into that, even if you're going to two gap and you're going to sit there and take on, two blockers all day long, and you're going to kind of do that, or you're going to take on that one blocker and try to manage two gaps, it takes a lot out of you. But I mean, if you're now doing single gap, kind of an aggressive style, like trying to run a bunch of stunts and stuff like that, the fresh legs is going to be the most critical part. And when you go back and you look at like what happened at San Diego State with Ulrich there, he was able to kind of spread that production around to multiple people. He had not just that one guy that bubbled up and had 10 sacks. I think he had 3 guys that had 6 sacks apiece. And so I think that what you really want to have happen here is obviously to have those fresh legs. You want to be deep, 2 or 3, groups deep to where you can kind of go ahead and rotate them. And I think, I've really emphasized, like Petchak with, attacking the outside shoulder of a tackle and getting upfield and his one-on-one passing skills. And I think Lenhart obviously has got an ability to do that too. The part that we have not mentioned here, the part that probably is as big of any type of concern that anybody should have about this defense is going to be stopping the run. And that has to start up front. That there's going to be a real need for the Riley Van Poppels and the Moores and the Stoudemires, the guys that we all mentioned before, to be way more stout against particularly Big Ten offensive lines to, keep linebackers clean, plug gaps, kind of not be so easy to kind of like give up, big gouging runs, get off the field, after, like a third and long kind of situation comes up, as opposed to, and then allowing some sort of a big play. So you want to get off the football field, you want to stop the run, and you have to be more productive when it comes to the pass rush. It does start up front with those guys. And I think the first thing it has to start with is just kind of a very capable rotation. And I have heard from the transfer guys, obviously, that they've been looking pretty good. I do feel like with Lenhart, a couple guys that have been there in Lincoln a little bit longer, I think that those are the guys that obviously Ulrich is maybe a little bit less familiar with and probably getting a little bit more accustomed to seeing, obviously, because since they're kind of carryovers from being there, in previous years before he got there. But I think that big thing is going to be a solid rotation, fresh legs, and you don't want to limit basically that kind of madness, chaotic front that he does when it comes to like just trying to generate confusion and try to get production out of those guys up front. So yeah, I think that those guys are going to be big when it comes to the overall way that they want to run the defense, which is to be active. They're going to need a lot of fresh legs on the defensive line.
Brian Munson with us here. And Brian, before we get you out, we haven't talked much offense here. My question kind of going into fall is what can this offense do to assist this defense? Could this be a team where the best defense is an offense that plays some ball control, puts some points on the board, and just kind of gives the defense more of a runway to be playing with the lead and kind of just have pressure on the opposing offense because of game situation?
You have to be an offense that limits your mistakes. You have to play ball control. You cannot be the kind of offense that goes out there and wants to go, foot on the throat, and one time it's going to work out well for you, and the next two times it's not going to work out well for you, and it doesn't need to necessarily not work out well for you just in the terms of a turnover. You can't go 3 and out, when it comes to like you get out there and, bomb, and then punt. And we've seen that before. And you're going to need to find a way to keep the opposing defense out there on the football field. So it's a little bit more Sean Watson, as opposed to like a Tim Beck. You're going to want to go ahead and extend some drives. You're going to want to go ahead and take it out of that defense. You want those guys to bake in the sun on the sideline when they're out there at Memorial Stadium a little bit. And, you want to kind of show that you have some control. And I think that those are the types of situations there where defenses can do nothing to get off the football field, that it becomes demoralizing. And afternoons seem like they take entire days to get out of a game because you're just getting ran through. You're a total sieve when it comes to playing defense against that type of an offense. But it doesn't help if you have an offense that has a tendency to turn the ball over. You're going to have to go ahead and make sure that your guys they're playing good ball control, not making those nasty little mistakes. So there's kind of a tricky little balance there, right? Because you sometimes you have to press on the gas a little bit more because you've made those bad mistakes. Sometimes that forces you to make even more mistakes as you kind of go into those 3 and out or other bad situations that you kind of then press it a little bit more and you make a mistake. So I think it's a slippery slope, but I think that when you get into it, it's going to be ball control, and it's going to be then obviously those longer, more, longer drives down the football field, keeping that defense out there. I think that those are the ways that this team is going to have to find a way to win. That is the way right there. Get the defensive side, which we said, get off the field, stop the run, get some pressure, and then the longer drives and ball control on offense. That's the way you're going to win this year.
It's Brian Munson with us here. And Brian, before we get you out, let's talk a little bit of NFL and your Bills. We talked in segment 1 some of the division odds here. Are you surprised to see the Bills at minus 136 to win the AFC East, considering the AFC champion from last year is in your division?
Loaded question, isn't it? I think that obviously the Bills have made some good moves. I'm questioning how that all comes together. I think that many people would agree, looking at the Patriots schedule last year, it was pretty friendly to allow them, but they still had to go out there and win games. And they went into Rich Stadium and beat the Bills on Sunday night. So I saw it firsthand. I was there. So it's going to be difficult, obviously, for anybody to kind of go back and do it all over again. I do give a little bit of a nod to the Bills right now, although I do like what New England has been doing. I don't think too much about the other two teams in the division at all. So it's going to be a 2-team race, and I do give a little bit of an edge to the Bills. That's all I'll say about that right now, and I'm sure you're laughing.
No laughing from me. We'll see. Maybe the new stadium is all the Bills needed to finally make a deep postseason run. We'll
I tell you what, there's been some real bad criticism about the new stadium, about like all the blind spots and all the little corners from the scoreboards that seem to like protrude out into line of sight.
I think it's a good thing, given those alternate uniforms. I don't want to see those in the field anyway.
I think they could have done something with the gray myself, but I think it's a little bit too much gray. And I don't like the way that the helmet kind of wraps around the way from what we saw from Josh Allen's the preseason game and the pictures from it.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if those are long-term alternates for the Bills. So maybe a good thing some of the sight lines are disrupted. But Brian,
there's no way those are long-term alternates. Trust me.
No. Brian, appreciate your time here on a Tuesday morning. We'll cut up with you next week. Thanks for all your insight.
Be good, guys. We'll see you.
There he goes, Brian Munson, HuskerOnline.com, previewing some Husker football fall camp. We're up against it this hour. We'll step aside and we return. Maybe a story or two that we missed.
I don't think there's any problem with that running long, talking some Husker sports.
No. We have about 2 minutes on the clock?
Yeah.
I'm so good at this. We counting down the days to the Little League World Series yet?
Hasn't it started?
It's like finals of regionals.
Okay. Can we bet on
it? Here's what I'm saying. You can't, but you should be able to.
Yeah.
Because betting on the Little League World Series is simple. Just bet on Taiwan.
Yeah.
Or sorry, Taipei, I think is what they call themselves in the Little League World Series. Easy. So simple. Just bet on them and rake in the profits.
Adam Gase.
Yeah, I saw that post yesterday on Twitter of, oh no, he's on the Chargers coaching staff.
I think Adley Rutschman is going to make his debut for the Red Sox today. He was activated from the IL.
Look at this drama with the Tulsa Little League World Series team. They got booted from their regional for apparently playing an ineligible player, but now a judge has put in a restraining order. And the team that celebrated a regional win yesterday now has to go play against this team that had a player ruled ineligible.
Oh, my.
Yeah, big drama. Judges are ruining sports.
The stories we miss. The Morning Hookup.
We talked briefly during the break about this. We'll quickly get into this. How about drama in the Little League World Series down in a regional? A team from Tulsa had been banned for using an ineligible player. Their regional crown was won last night, but now a judge down in Texas has put in a restraining order allowing this team from Tulsa to actually go and play. So this team that thought they won the regional last night now has to go play in this team from Tulsa who might have an ineligible player playing for a chance to make it to the Little League World Series. It's about all I know. I like Little League World Series time for the most part. But as we talked during the break, we need Little League World Series at the sports book. True sicko behavior. We bet on some 12-year-olds playing baseball.
I think Corn Raider makes a good point here. How do judges have authority over amateur sports rules?
Right now, sports is so broken with how judges are able to just step in and do whatever the heck they want.
Yeah.
One guy's opinion is now changing how the rules for sports work. I don't understand all of it. I don't claim to understand all of it, but it feels like if any ruling happens that you don't like in sports, you can just go to court and get a judge that is favorable to you to get you whatever you want. And leagues and whatnot cannot do anything about it. So, I don't know. We spoke about the Bengals back in the first segment here. They open up their preseason Thursday, and we just got in news from Zach Taylor out of Bengals training camp. They're going to have their stars play in the first preseason game. That's Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Dexter Lawrence, all going to play against the Lions on Thursday in the preseason opener. Interesting.
Not sure how long they'll play, but
one series.
Yeah.
They'll get their one series, then they get to go throw on their sweatsuits on the sideline and sit back and enjoy the rest of the game. That'll do it for us here on a Tuesday edition of the Morning Hookup. We'll be back with Bill Hooks tomorrow. Husker legend Henry T. Buchanan will join the show, and I think Jeff Moats will join the show as well to talk some high school sports. Check us out tomorrow morning from 9 to 11 on KFOR.